It is Monday. What's today's date, you guys? What's today's date? July 18th. It's 11 days before my birthday. That's exciting. Word, bust off them shots. Yeah, guys, I'm so tired. I got in from North Carolina late last night. This mic is acting up this afternoon, but I'll make it work. Don't worry about that. So I'm a little tired. I was in North Carolina celebrating my grandparents' 70th wedding anniversary. Yes, 70. And it was like a nice mini family reunion, everyone coming together from New York to Virginia down to North Carolina. It was nice, and I'm blessed that I have such a great representation of love and commitment, faith, all that good stuff. So yeah, but I'm back in the saddle, ready to go. We have a good show lined up today. I have a special guest, Brandon Scoot B. Robinson. He is, as I like to refer to him, the hardest working man in sports business. He hosts his own radio show, and then he does something else where separate from the radio show where he interviews people. He's constantly hosting events, interviewing athletes, and just does a lot. So I'm excited to sit and chat with him. He and I actually met covering we met on a TV show where we were both called in to give analysis on, I believe it was Ray Rice and domestic violence at the time. So yeah, so he's joining me today. And then we're going to start the show off with my top 3. Also, I want to remind you guys to shoot your shot. So last week we didn't have any brave listeners. Not one of you shot your shot last week, and this week I need at least one person. So to remind you guys what shoot your shot is, basically that means that you can ask me anything. All right, keep it clean, keep it respectful, but I'm an open book, so it could be personal, it could be about sports, it can be about whatever you want it to be. So yes, shoot your shot. That's something that I want to implement this week since nobody did it last week, and I'll answer one question at 2:50. So you can either submit them earlier via my Twitter, via my Facebook Live, via the show's chat on www.floempireradio.com, or you can call in the show. 929-227-4646 is the number to dial in, 929-227-4646, if you want to shoot your shot with me today. All right, so now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, let's kick off the show, you guys. How about that? So, question of the day was inspired by the NBA's contracts and Kevin Durant going to the Golden State Warriors, and just kind of like all of the mild controversy that it's called. I don't want to call it controversy because it's not like it's a big deal, but it has caused some people to call the NBA out on these super teams that are forming, and just the general idea of the competitive balance of the league being a little bit distorted, you know? And Adam Silver himself said that he hopes to address this. He's not a fan of super teams, and once the CBA is renegotiated, that's something that they will address. So, one question that I want to pose to you guys, my listeners, today is, should the NBA consider an NFL-like franchise tag as a way to discourage the formation of super teams? All right. So the question of the day is, should the NBA consider implementing an NFL-like franchise tag policy to discourage the formation of super teams? So that is today's question of the day. Call in throughout the show, weigh in, comment on the show's chat or on my Facebook Live, and let me know what you guys think. My personal belief as it relates to franchise tags within the NFL is that I hate them. I think that it's a way for teams to try to get out of presenting qualified players with long-term deals. And although, as we just saw with Von Miller, and Mo Wilkerson, which happens to be one of the thoughts out of my top 3 today. You know, in most cases, the teams actually make the long-term extension, contract extension to them. So the franchise tag is just kind of like a placeholder until they can get their money right and decide, okay, we're going to give this guy the money that they deserve. But in cases in which these athletes do have to play that 1 year on that franchise tag, even though for the most part they're paid well, I just don't like the idea that, particularly within the NFL, that if a player gets injured or it doesn't have a peak performance season, that suddenly they're going to be leaving millions on the table when they should have already been paid what they've deserved. So that's one of the main reasons that I'm completely against franchise tags in the NFL. And I know that because the structure of the NBA is completely different, where there are already guarantee contracts, where a lot of these guys go into these 1 and 2 year deals and they're already being paid out the wazoo. It's not going to be a direct copycat of the NFL's franchise tags just by the sheer structure of the league. But if the NBA implemented something in which they had the option of restricting players from exploring free agency for 1 season, then do you think that would help mitigate these super teams that are being formed? Or is it something that would just be delayed from 1 season? Or you know, would it just be like if Kevin Durant decided to stay in OKC this season, would he have just delayed going to Golden State for next year? So that's the question of the day. So again, should the NBA consider implementing an NFL-like franchise tag policy to discourage the formation of these super teams? All right, we're going to take a quick break because my guest just walked into the studio. So we're going to get him situated, and then when we come back, I'll have him join me for my top 3, and we'll get into the rest of the show. Thanks, guys. right, we are back, and now I got Scoop B joining me. Say what's up, Scoop.
What's up, Scoop? What's going on, everybody? It's good to be here. Me and you, we go back like 2 years ago?
Yeah, we met about 2 years ago at Arise TV, RIP Arise TV. I think we met on
That's the praying emoji.
I think we met on, I think we were doing a Ray Rice segment.
Yes.
Domestic violence, and we were talking about whether or not he had a future in the league, and I think we both said nah.
I said that with some time, maybe, but it seems like you're right now.
Yeah, I said no. I didn't believe, unfortunately, I didn't believe that he did because I just knew it was bad. I mean, the NFL was trying to cover their butts, and they used him as a scapegoat.
I think, yeah.
And his age, and he didn't have the best season leading up into all of the offseason.
More specifically since the Super Bowl that
right.
they played when it was the Turn Out the Lights game.
Right.
They played against the 49ers
yeah.
and the Harbaugh.
The Harbaugh Bowl.
Yes.
Harbaugh Bowl. Yeah.
But I think that, I think in addition to that, I think the NFL dropped the ball because TMZ was putting everybody on Front Street. That was the whole, we talked about the Harbaugh Bowl. That was the elevator sweepstakes as well. You had 3 instances: Johnny Manziel on the elevator,
Beyonce, Solange, and Jay-Z.
What you want me to do? I'm sorry. Then you had,
Who knew?
Then you had Ray Rice, but the Ray Rice thing, it was, it looked bad. At least with Manziel, in a separate incident, you hear about domestic violence, you didn't see it. With women watch football too.
We sure do. I mean, as a woman here talking sports, I can't speak about that enough. I think for me it was, I was definitely conflicted during that period because I felt like the NFL wasn't doing enough at all to speak to the women fan base. And I strongly believe that the future of the NFL lies within the female fan base.
I would wholeheartedly agree with you on that. I think obviously, Brown and Scoop is the show that I host. But in addition to that, I also do a separate initiative called Scoopy Radio. And one of the things that we focus on, me and my producer, Manny, we focus on highlighting women because women are consumers. And my thing is women do make the world go around because they control what the men like and don't like. And I think that
we control the purse. Meaning the wallet. I mean,
it's in your wallet.
Yeah.
Sure. So I think, women do watch sports. Women are consumers just as much as men are. And I believe that women and I think people of color, they control the spending power.
Yep.
But I think when it comes to being loyal and people being, consistent in buying, I think people that are not, more of a fan base, you have others who pay, but women definitely are big consumers.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think about also women as mothers, we decide, I mean, I'm not a mother, so I'm just generalizing and speaking from a woman's perspective, but we decide what jerseys our kids will wear. Mm-hmm. We're the ones buying jerseys for our husbands for holidays. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think that the NFL has to be more conscientious of how they speak to us as an audience because we don't want to feel pandered to. We don't want to feel marginalized. We don't want to feel disenfranchised. We want to feel valued.
Yeah.
And so when they, had the response to the Ray Rice thing and just domestic violence in general and Greg Hardy. And I mean, and to be fair, it's not just with the NFL because I think that the MLB, with Chapman on the Yankees and then Jose Reyes and and the Mets, it's something that these leagues need to figure out how to get a hold of.
In the NBA too. We actually, Brown the Scoop tonight, we're talking with Matt Barnes.
Oh, okay.
I think the NBA was they were swift in how they handled the Matt Barnes, Derek Fisher fiasco. I just think domestic violence is something I think because they're people of influence, they have money, we sweep under the rug.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that
and it's long been something that is like, oh, that's between them. That's something that's behind closed doors between that man and that woman and that couple, and that doesn't have anything to do with us. And so we've been, as a public, guilty of also just kind of like turning a blind eye to it. But with the Ray Rice incident, when that videotape came out, that's something that you cannot unsee. You know? So yeah, we kind of went
we need to cut it
off track here. Yes, let's move on. All right, so my top 3 for the week are I want to start out with Von Miller and Mo Wilkerson.
Show me the money.
There we go. So both guys, both defensive players, were signed to a franchise tag. Both were like, nah, we're not having this. You need to pay us. I am a Jets fan, so I honestly didn't
tell
know.
with the green.
There we always repping the green.
And you got the Jamba Juice right there. I'm weird. I was like green and green.
I personally didn't know if we would be able to get a deal done with Mo this season. I was hoping that we would be able to, because he's more than deserving of it. And it just also, and like before you walked in, I was just saying, giving my reasons for why I do not enjoy the franchise tag as a fan, and just thinking about players getting paid. So I'm happy that the Jets were able to get that done, and the way that they structured the deal, it seems like it's opening up between $7 and $8 million in cap space. So hopefully we can now go out and sign Fitzpatrick, because Lord knows we need him, because I'm just not comfortable going into the Jets season
with Geno.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I think if you had my co-host Jake Brown in here from Brown and Scoop, you and him will go back and forth. He likes Geno, but he likes Fitzpatrick because he's a game manager, almost like the quarterback with the Chiefs, Alex Smith. Alex Smith, I think, obviously was the odd man out when Kaepernick took over as the quarterback for the 49ers. But the thing that Alex Smith has is playing in a West Coast offense under Andy Reid, where he basically has to manage the game. He doesn't have to throw flashy passes, and he has a good running game that benefits him too.
And that's the thing with Geno, is that Geno is just not that cerebral. He doesn't have the athleticism to make up for his non-cerebral.
You don't think so?
No, he doesn't. No, he makes poor decisions. It's like can he throw the long ball? Yeah, but who's he gonna throw it to? In what situations is he going to choose to throw it? When it comes to him deciding when to run or when to just throw it away or whatever, he always chooses the wrong time.
See, I think he has the athleticism. I think the in-game management is lacking as far as the cerebral, but I think that there's a couple of things that I'm not pro or anti Geno. I'm more of along the lines of who will fit. I think in that Rex Ryan offense, he benefited somewhat early on, but I think when he also benefited because Mark Sanchez got hurt.
Right, and I don't even think he benefited, really. I mean, he benefited in the chance of getting an opportunity, but he didn't necessarily take advantage of it. Because even though last season he would have been the starting quarterback if he didn't get punched in the jaw, I don't think that.
But that was bad. That was bad business too. How that all went down.
But I don't think that he would have finished the season as starting quarterback. I think he would have probably lost his job.
Hey, Facebook Live. I think that that at the end of the day, I think Fitzpatrick benefited from being right place, right time, and I think a new coach. I think his coaching philosophies are a lot different than Rex's,
and in the right offense.
And offense.
And he also benefited. You can't deny this. He also benefited from having Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker, and that's something that, being fair to Geno, didn't have.
Brandon Marshall, the first couple weeks of the season. Remember that game against Cleveland? It was early. I think it was like within the first 2 weeks. I think Johnny Manziel was the starting quarterback, so that was like I think that might have been week 1.
Okay.
Yo, my fantasy team looked like Christmas. I think he had like 3 or 4 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah,
by himself.
Brandon Marshall is a beast, and I'm so happy that he's a Jet. He actually, I just saw our alert come through that said that he hasn't spoken to Ryan Fitzpatrick in about a month, and he's starting to get nervous. You know,
us Brandons, we got it like that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So what did you think about Von Miller's deal?
I liked it only because I think that every era, I think this summer you've seen just money. I mean, while we're broke and slave and they get money,
Right.
but at the same time, in the world where NBA guys and Major League Baseball guys get so much money, and then on the NFL side, so many offensive guys get so much money, it's good to see the defensive guys get paid. Get paid. Blow up.
I mean, Sue, Miller now, they're the top 2 highest paid.
And I was happy for Muhammad Wilkerson, a local guy.
Me too.
Because he saved my fantasy team too defensively. But I think bigger than that, I think quietly he's just been playing his tail off. Even back when Rex Ryan was coaching, like
but that's why, he's been a consistent, loyal, and that's why you have to pay these guys.
Where's DJ Khaled when you loyal? You smart. Another one. I appreciate you.
All right.
Buy yourself something.
Wait, okay, so I'm getting some comments. So Silas is one of my loyal listeners, and he says, free Matt Barnes.
Facts.
Geno Smith's career matters. What you need to know about Silas is that he's a Bills fan. So anything that he says needs to be taken with a grain of salt and a ton of hate, because that's where he's coming from.
Are you hearing this, my brother?
He hears it. He knows it. He knows.
He said Teflon Don. Teflon.
Handel saying Geno was the worst. He's a Jets fan. Jets fans are not, like, the thing is, Ryan Fitzpatrick hurt his case because he lost that game. He lost the final game of the season against Buffalo Bills, and that kept us out of the playoffs.
You might hate me for this, but I think it's the writer in me. You might kick me off your show. I'm looking at your writing. I like Rex, and I felt I'm all for the underdog, and I'm all for vindication, and I wanted the Bills to win because I wanted him to get the last laugh in the sense of she's like, I'm wondering if I'm kicking him off or not.
I'm not gonna kick you off. I'm just waiting for you to finish so I can say what I need to say.
I just think they didn't make the playoffs. But
the Jets.
Nor the Bills.
Nor the Bills.
But I think in a game that didn't matter, I was happy for Rex. In the case of Fitzpatrick, I think that man was hot. I think he was hot all year. Yeah, he cost them that one game, but when you look at the overall picture,
that's the game that you need to show up in.
Okay, so in the last game of the season, would you have trusted Geno or would you have trusted Fitzpatrick to lead your team?
I would have trusted Fitzpatrick to lead the team, but you can't go throwing it away like that. He had how many interceptions in that game? Like at least 2?
It was 2 or 3.
And like they were
it seemed like we're both wrong.
And they're costly.
She's Googling, but I think that for me, if I was a general manager of the Jets and I wanted to put an investment in good faith.
And then we also couldn't stop their receiver. Who is it, Sammy Watkins?
Yeah, but they did win some games they weren't supposed to win. That Giants game, they
Who, the Jets?
Yeah, they won that game.
Yeah. I mean, that's the Jets' way, though. The Jets always win games that we shouldn't be winning.
We'll compromise. I said 2 or 3. She said 2. You said 4. It's all good. Either way, Fitzpatrick turned the ball over at times he shouldn't. There were times you shouldn't.
Silas says he likes you just because you bigged up the Bills and Rex Ryan.
Facts.com, my G. Facts.com. No, but I think what I was saying was being a general manager of a team. Me personally, I would invest in Fitzpatrick in the instance of good faith that if we're going to give you this money, you have to perform. And I would have made that contract more incentive laden. If I'm not mistaken,
yeah, absolutely.
I would have made it more incentive. I would have guaranteed some, but made it very incentive laden to make him want to earn that money.
But he doesn't want. Well, first of all, how old is he now? Like 35,
He's
maybe even older.
Kurt Warner was almost 40 when he won a Super Bowl.
I agree, but Ryan Fitzpatrick has, he itches the bed when it matters most. Then after the Bills paid him, what happened after the Bills paid him? He didn't live up to that contract.
Yeah.
So he has a reputation of getting paid and not living up to the contract. And that's what the risk is.
So if you are the owner or the general manager of the Jets, what do you offer him?
I think he should have gotten about 8.
Okay.
If he wants 13, 15, like he's bugging. He doesn't deserve that kind of money.
Can I just have 2? Can we?
I'm saying. But yeah, if I was the Jets, I would have offered him about 8.
Sure.
So So what did you think about Von Miller's deal?
Pay that man.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think I just think right now how in the NBA the point guard position is at a premium.
Yep.
I think in the NFL you're seeing D tackles, D ends, and corners getting paid. They're at a premium, and I think that's just the way the industry goes as far as certain key positions. I think even with a guy like Kevin Durant, obviously you were talking about that in the last segment. I walked in going or committing to or signing with the Golden State Warriors. I think that swingman position is at a premium. So I think certain premium positions is what you need. You need a defender to stop the likes of Cam Newton, who was this almost in a lot of respects the standard. Aaron Rodgers, the standard. So.
I mean, and here we are. Like these are two prime examples. Whereas we were just talking about Ryan Fitzpatrick and him not stepping up in the game that mattered most in last season, and the Broncos and the Panthers in the Super Bowl. Offensively, the Broncos had nothing going for them because Peyton Manning doesn't have anything anymore.
Tim Duncan of the NFL.
And it was no Timmy D disrespect here.
None. I will never. I was making a comparison.
That was like low key disrespect.
Wow.
Because like you can't. No Tim Duncan shade ever.
No, I wasn't shading. What I was saying was, I think there are certain times where guys are so great they need their own. They didn't need a retirement tour.
Oh,
that's what I was.
Sense.
That's what I was saying.
Okay.
I wouldn't play Tim.
I thought you meant okay.
I have the greatest amount of respect for Tim Duncan. 19-year veteran, 5 championships, 1 championships in 3 different eras. I respect that man.
19 straight playoff appearances. Yeah. Okay.
So, no,
all right. So we're on the same page with that.
I can clear my name now?
Yeah, you're good now.
I can clear my name.
You're
Thank
good.
you. Hallelujah.
Hey. So, because I thought you were saying like he didn't contribute, but it wasn't like they went out and won the NBA championship and he basically coasted and let everybody else carry him.
I'm gonna tell you something.
The same way like how Peyton Manning went out, because that's what happened with Peyton Manning.
I feel like Bernie Mac. I'm gonna tell you something. No, I penned a piece for CBSSportsRadio.com a while ago, and actually CBS Local Sports, and I wrote about Greg Popovich. I interviewed him, and we just talked about legacy.
You interviewed Pop?
Yeah.
Were you nervous?
No, I made him laugh too.
Okay.
And I talked.
I tell you, he's the hardest working man in sports right now. He's like in these streets.
I'm trying to earn my keep, but I chatted with various players who played with Pop. Speedy Claxton, Samaki Walker, David Robinson's son. I talked to the super Spurs fan, Spurs Jesus, they call him. He's actually his stickers on my
nice.
computer. But just talked about Pop, and the one thing that I talked about with him was just dunking and riding off in the sunset, because I feel like a lot of people were enamored with that this year, particularly with Kobe Bryant walking out on his retirement tour, but then Duncan quietly doing it, and then you had guys like Peyton Manning, who you kind of knew. And so I feel like there is a parallel between Peyton and Tim Duncan leaving that way.
However, Peyton's situation was different because, the sexual assault allegations came back up, and then there was the doping allegations that surfaced towards the end of the season. So it was like he needed to quietly disappear.
Sure, but what I was saying was basically at just face value, just as those guys that are people just have that they're great type of thing, I think, and they didn't need a ton of fanfare. As say like in the NBA where LeBron or Iverson needed that fanfare because they came with that pizzazz or that swag. Yeah. But I have the utmost respect for Tim Duncan and all he's done. I think top power forward in the game and in our industry. Tim Duncan, when I started my career in journalism at 12 years old, that was his rookie year in the NBA.
That's crazy.
And the first person that I interviewed was Keith Van Horn. As a reporter, so that's my era as a childhood and also starting in the business. So kudos to him.
Let's talk about that a little bit. I'm gonna veer away from the top 3 for a quick second because I think you definitely have a unique story. So share with the listeners how you got started at 12.
I had a radio show with the Nets called Net Slam and Planet. This was back when they were in New Jersey. I auditioned for a show at Chelsea Pier. Hundreds of kids auditioned, and it was originally for doing. Remember the Crash Dummies? Back in the day, it was to be a personality on a now defunct station called 1660 AM Oswald Radio, and it was at Liberty Science Center in Jersey City. So what happened was I auditioned to be one of the 8 members they were looking for to be, childhood personalities. And so I got it. I killed the first audition, came back for a second audition at Dangerfields.
Did you know you killed it at the time, or were you?
I did.
He's nodding. For those of you listening and not watching, he just nodded.
I did.
Okay. Go ahead. Facebook Live sees him nodding.
But in all seriousness, I had a mom that just put me in the right position, and a praying mom. I talked a lot as a kid, and she was like, "I wish he would shut the hell up. What can I get him to do?" It was a great opportunity, and then from there, the Nets called Oswald Radio and was like, "Hey, we're looking for a kid that who knows basketball, who has a personality, who's fearless." And it's me. Just to give you a little background, I played when I was younger.
Okay.
My uncle exposed me to basketball early on. He was a commissioner of parks and citywide basketball league in Harlem. So between
Harlem, stand up.
Between that and my family owning a sneaker store in Harlem, I was always around basketball, sports, athletes, etc.
Okay.
And so by the time the Nets came calling, that was an opportunity. When you know something's for you and it's divinely orchestrated, you go after it. And I haven't looked back since.
Preach, brother, preach.
Yes, ma'am. So that's my story.
Please.
But sorry. Yeah, you commented on Instagram earlier. She's like, I can't wait for Brandon to come in. I was like, thank you, ma'am. I'm excited. She said, do not call me.
Yeah, what is this?
I was like,
Yeah, I'm too young to be anybody's ma'am.
Thank you, lady. Thank you, Shana.
Thank you. There you go.
Thank you, Shana.
All right, and then you just knew that this was the path that you wanted to take.
Yeah, but it wasn't easy. I think for me, my mom used to say to me growing up, there's more to life than basketball. And as a kid, I used to watch 60 Minutes with my mom. I used to read the newspaper on Sundays. And journalism, I think the interview is so important. And I feel like if you know how to just be a reporter's reporter and interview anybody, you can do anything. And if you can write, you can do anything. So to that point, when I finished, I did my show for 2 years with the Nets. I was in high school at that point, so I got to be a normal kid again.
Okay.
And then from there, college, grad school, and then, freelancing here, freelancing there, had an opportunity.
Freelancing here, freelancing there, freelancing everywhere.
Hey, yes. But then, I came into a position where, the Source magazine was looking for a staff writer. And that kind of
jump-started everything.
Yeah, and then even 2 years ago, I was at the press conference with Adam Silver when he banned Donald Sterling, and people thought I was Kenan Thompson. So that people on Twitter were talking about that. Shout out to my homie Reagan Gomez Preston, because she was one of the main ones talking about it, and it was pretty funny.
That is hilarious. I wouldn't have thought that, but I could see it.
He wishes he looked like me.
He wishes he looks like
but
you.
But it was an opportunity, and sometimes you got to run with it. And Brown and Scoop came along, and it's open doors and open people's eyes, because I think sometimes you can pigeonhole yourself into, okay, he's just basketball, he's just black media, he's just this, he's that. And when you're able to show people, unfortunately, it's almost like the black quarterback experience, when you can show people that, hey, I can pass, I can run.
Yeah, you can do it all.
I can do everything. I use Bernie Mac. Hey, America, you ready for me? So I think it's one of those things where when you know that you're living in your purpose, and you know that you have a goal, and you know that you have the right team around you, possibilities are endless.
I agree with that. Let's talk about someone else who has the right team around them.
Talk to me.
Tom Brady. So it seems like Deflategate is finally over as far as we're concerned. He's just kind of said, you know what, I'll eat this 4-game suspension. I'm not going to pursue this any further. I'm not going to take it to the Supreme Court, which I think is the right thing to do given everything going on in the country right now, in the world. Like, you and these 4 games and these deflated footballs, it's so insignificant when you look at the grand scheme of things, and what our courts should be focused on, and our government and all that kind of stuff. But the thing that there are a few things from this story that I want to discuss. One, him reworking his contract.
Brady?
Yeah. So he reworked his contract. So he's only going to lose about $200,000 as opposed to the $2 million that he would have lost as a result of being suspended these games. And I think that is an absolute brilliant move on his part. And then the other thing is that their schedule, Cardinals, Dolphins, Texans, Bills, I think they'll go 4-0 at worst, 3-1 without him.
I think first and foremost, when you talk about the Supreme Court, I'm kind of glad he saved face, because if I was in that Supreme Court, you know what I would have said to him? Why you always lying?
Oh, God.
But I think Tom Brady is in a situation where he basically he's thinking of legacy, and in a lot of respects, like Dwayne Wade is making that move to Chicago and being from Chicago. So he has the juice. The fact that he was able to restructure his contract, the fact that he has the Kraft family in his back pocket. Let's hope the ketchup doesn't splatter with him having it in his back pocket. But in all seriousness, I feel that people tend to forget things when you're just quiet and you shut up. And I think that we've carried this and we've dragged it on for so long. If you think of the last 18 months, they've won a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. He pulled a Jigga Kelly not guilty and got his appeal revoked. And then he ends up still having to serve that 4-game suspension. He's blessed. Yeah. And so I think that when you're quiet and you sit down, people tend to forget. And when you show a little humility, people tend to be forgiving, because you've come across as very arrogant in your approach that, you know, Goodell can't touch you.
And the thing, too, is like, I don't know which empire is worse, the empire of the Patriots, and you know how a lot of people dislike the Patriots and
they win all the time.
Exactly. Or Roger Goodell and the NFL. You know, it's like, you can't, from my perspective, really isn't a favorite to pick between these two. It's not like, oh, well, I'm rooting for Tom Brady to defeat Roger Goodell, or I'm rooting for Roger Goodell to take down Tom Brady. You guys are both equally evil, in my opinion. And so I don't really see where there's a win-win for any of the fans, especially where, as me being a Jets fan and the Pats being in the AFC East, it's not like we play the Jets, and I don't think that, you know, we benefit from him not sitting out. And because like I said, the schedule is so easy for the Patriots, and the system in place, it's not as if this announcement came week 1 of the season and then it's like,
for 18 months.
Exactly. So now, what's their backup? Garofalo?
Something like
that, right? He has the ability. He has the ability to now get all the reps with the first team and be ready.
Garofalo was his name.
Garofalo. Okay, Garoppolo.
That's how much. I mean,
I knew it wasn't like Janine. What was her name? The comedian Janine Garofalo. I knew that wasn't it.
You've officially lost me. Nah, you know what? When you talk about Patriots backup quarterback, one of the things that I look at is when Brady was hurt some years ago. I think this was like 2008, 2009. And he sat out from some time. And I can't think of the guy's name that was his backup, and it's bothering me. But he ended up being the starting quarterback. Stat lady. He ended up being, you know, like clean up on aisle 5. But no, I remember that after that season, he ended up signing a contract with the Kansas City Chiefs.
And he ended up,
I can't think of his name as we're stalling looking it up. Right, Facebook, you see it stalling? I'm Googling. But I think that people act like because Brady's not playing, it's the end of the world. Okay, they go 3-1. They're still going to have to compete with the Jets. They're still going to have to compete with the Dolphins, the Steelers. They're still going to have to, you know, I think sometimes we get.
Yeah, but I think only those first 4 games of the season really count, because otherwise, not to say that they're going to go undefeated once Brady gets in, but, you know, you put Brady up against anybody and you like your chances if you're a Pats fan.
Matt Castle.
Yeah, Matt Castle. Thank you.
I was about to say White Castle.
But, yes, Matt Castle.
But I just think that people act like if Brady's going to sit down, that's the end of the world. Just like, I mean, I think Brady is a significant portion of this team. But listen, Gronkowski knows how to catch a football.
He does.
And I just think if you're a great team, you know how to suit up when
because of the competition in that division, it's not like there is, you know, it's not like it's that great, you know, it's not like they really have anything to worry about.
Mm-hmm. I think at the end of the day, Tom Brady just has to pay his dues and shut up, and I think sometimes Tom Brady gives off a vibe that he can't be touched. It's almost like reminds me of, remember that episode of Fresh Prince when Will was playing for Bel Air Prep and they played against Malibu Prep, and you had the guy that played on Cosby Show. I can't think of his name, but he was the star of Malibu Prep, and he thought that the kid jogged to school every day from where he was from in his hood. And so long story short, I think sometimes people have this Malibu perception, like Will had of that guy on the Fresh Prince. They have this Malibu perception of Tom Brady that he can't be touched. But you showed that he was human, and I think that you're going to have to sit down. You're going to have to pay restitution, almost like a Draymond Green situation in the finals, where people just thought that Draymond, wherever line you were on, and whether you thought he should be suspended, the Warriors showed that they're not invincible, and neither is Tom Brady.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm happy that they showed that. I mean, he knew something was going on with those footballs, and he needed to be disciplined for it. Callers, where you at? Holla at us, 929-227-4646. Don't forget, question of the day: should the NBA implement an NFL-like franchise tag to help kill the formation of super teams? Do you have any thoughts on that, Scoop?
Well, let me first say that I think that it's so interesting that people are up in arms with Kevin Durant and the way that he chose to handle his free agency, but people get amnesia as it relates to LeBron James. But even though people were hard on LeBron James, you got to credit a guy in baseball, in Curt Flood, who made it possible for guys to tackle their free agency on their terms. I think in our generation, we are very big on brands, our future, our legacy earlier on, and we learn from guys like Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, John Stockton, Jeff Hornacek, et cetera, et cetera. Right. To that point, I think that the NBA has done enough with the salary cap in the past. I think that the NBA has done a lot with kind of not meddling. I think when Chris Paul was originally traded to the Lakers, but it was because it was dual ownership, because I think the Hornets at the time were owned by the NBA. But I think you get mad at a player for leaving when Durant or LeBron both took less money to win a championship. I think that to kind of control a situation is inorganic. I think in the NFL, where there's not guaranteed contracts, it's different.
I agree.
And so I think with the NBA, I think we complain left and right. I have more of a problem with the fact that they're actually playing with the idea of putting advertisements on jerseys. This is not overseas, and this is not the WNBA, who has a different structure.
They're not hurting for cash,
no,
is what you're saying.
No, if you hurt it for cash, I mean, if you want to give money away, give it to us. We're the good guys here. But I think, to tinker with the system, I'm against that.
Okay, hold on. We have a call. Hello?
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 What's going on?
Who's calling? State your name and where you're calling from.
This is DJ Hands from Long Island.
Hey, DJ Hands. What's up?
What's up, Shana?
I'm good. Thanks for calling again. 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, of course. I support, man. I'm going to listen every time if I can.
Thank you.
What up, DJ?
What's going on, homie?
Ain't nothing but the rent.
So what's your question? What do you want to weigh in on today?
Well, I actually had two, because I heard this was Shoot Your Shot Day.
Okay. Uh-oh. All right.
And I wanted to touch on the Durant situation.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to shoot my shot first. I want to know, can you still ball?
You should have seen her face. She was nervous.
I was nervous. I'm like, where is he going with this? Because we go way, way back.
Back into time.
Hansel, I could never really ball. God bless your soul, and for having me out here looking like I was a junior high school legend in these streets. But no, I could never ball. For those of you listening who don't know me in real life, I'm 5 feet, and I've been the same height since about 6th grade.
You got tall swag, though.
So thank you. So I was on the B team. I played point guard. And that's the extent of my basketball career. I think I played in 7th and 8th grade.
She was like Nash out there, throwing no looks and everything, yo. She was nice. I'm trying to tell you.
No, I wasn't.
Did she get the MVP then? 2 times in a row?
I wasn't nice. I wasn't nice. I remember I did have like a block which is crazy.
Who were you playing against?
I mean, we went to a Lutheran private school and played against like other like Catholic schools.
Nice.
It wasn't like
it wasn't no competition.
Yeah, it wasn't any other competition. So what do you want to say about Durant?
Yo, now the reason I'm kind of like upset with Durant because I was a fan, like, and what made me upset was not like who he went to or whatever, is the way he did it, and the fact that when LeBron made his move, he had stuff to say about it. He put on I believe it was Twitter. He put out, oh, so competition is gone in the league now or something like that. As soon as LeBron made his move.
Yeah, but that was like 4 years ago. Can a person evolve in their point of view?
Nah, if that's the way you feel, then how do you make that move 3 years later, 4 years later?
Because you evolve in your point of view because you've been playing within the same system for the past 8 seasons. And
so you go to the team that was one game away from winning the championship?
I hear you. And I listen, I'm not opposed to what Durant did. I feel like it's a job for him. It's a career move for him. And if a career goal of his is to get a chip, and I said this last week, and I'll say it again. If a career goal of his is to get a chip, then he's going to put himself in the best position to do so. And the Warriors afforded him the best opportunity to do that. Now, I personally feel that his decision, that his relationship and his playing relationship and his on the court relationship with Westbrook factored greatly into his decision to go and leave and play for the Warriors. I think that after playing with Westbrook for 8 seasons, getting so close this year, up 3-1, and just kind of like the bottom falling out, he realized like, yo, it's just not going to get done.
Can I say something?
Well, the bottom fell out because of him.
Yeah, he had turnovers, but I feel like he just needed a change.
I think OKC, if you look at their season overall this year, they had some holes.
Yeah.
Big time. I think even when, coming from the Nets organization myself, watching them as they tried to stopgap and replace James Harden, it reminded me a lot of when the Nets were trying to replace getting rid of Kenyon Martin with Vince Carter. Wow. And that, you got Randy Foye, you got Deion Waiters, you had a Steven Adams who emerged in the playoffs and in an instance made Ibaka expendable. Defensively,
right.
I think that the OKC Thunder caught Golden State at the right time. Remember, even when they played, there was one game I think they blew them out. It was a couple games, if I'm not mistaken, they blew them out. But I think they got used to them. When you get to the playoffs, at that point, other people's play sets.
Yeah, and you adjust.
So I think OKC, they're like a team that you just don't want to see in the playoffs because they're like that 8th seed Philadelphia 76ers team in 2001. They weren't an 8th seed, but just that mindset where they're dangerous, but they get to play the Lakers and they lose it because the Lakers are just a better team.
Right.
And I think that with Durant, I think it is a situation where for a year and a half he was basically off and on shelf with foot injuries. Mm-hmm. They had to recover from Harden being gone. I mean, they made it to the playoffs 4 years ago. They made it to the finals 4 years ago against a better Miami Heat team.
All I'm saying is, it seems like with Durant, he doesn't like to be held accountable or doesn't want to be held accountable for like these losses and stuff like that. So it seems like he always wants to hide behind somebody.
I don't agree with that.
In my opinion,
I don't agree with that. I think that him and Russell were very much a 1-2 tandem or punch on that team, and I don't think that he was afraid of being held accountable because there were plenty of opportunities when people wanted him to throw Westbrook under the bus, and he wouldn't do that, And so I think from that.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about on the court. Like
they're better by themselves.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. At some point, you need to be a leader.
I think,
and at some point, you need to like own it. Like, this is my team. I don't care what anybody else is doing. This is my team, and I don't think he wants to do that.
I respect your
That's
point
why I
of view.
think he made that move.
I respect your point of view, but I also think that there's a difference between fan speak and what actually goes on in the locker room and the player. I think sometimes people.
That's true.
I think sometimes people hold players to unrealistic expectations, and then if they were put in that same situation, I think it's different because we don't know what everything is said in the locker room, and you don't know everything that's said in the huddle. But I will take what you said and raise you this. I think that the two of them are better by themselves than they are together at this point. Sometimes when you date and you're in a relationship, sometimes you and that person can still be compatible, but it's just time to move on. And I think sometimes you're not, to use a relationship, I know this is a woman's show, sometimes the woman or the man you're with is preparing you for the relationship you're supposed to be in. And I think OKC did that for him. I think for them to put peacemake and put a tape on the fact that they didn't have Scott Brooks, they had to replace him with a new coach that was inexperienced in the NBA, the fact that they made it to the conference finals with a dollar and a dream, I think this is as far as they can go. And they replaced Serge Ibaka. They traded him and got the guy from Orlando. To me, that says they're folding.
But people thought that was an upgrade for the team and a piece that would help.
That's what I'm saying. That
keep
was
Durant there, and I was like,
a better move.
Yeah. So hold on. So Silas commented online, and he said, "I love that idea because one player can change the outcome of a game, season, direction for a franchise. If Anthony Davis leaves NO, that franchise is finished for a long time." Then he goes on to say, shooting guard was a huge hole and wing talent off the bench in regard to OKC.
In regards to OKC, I honestly think they really need a point guard, and Russell Westbrook should be moved to the 2.
He's a 2.
And I think that would solve most of their problems.
Definitely. I think most people would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's
So my last point for my top 3 is Knicks related. I've been seeing a lot of headlines over the past weekend about the Knicks playing together, Derrick Rose and KP playing together, and Brandon Jennings and this and that and blah, blah, blah. As Knicks fans, should we even care about this?
Nope. I just want to see him play on the court.
I think the Knicks are a 35-41 win team this season.
That's it?
Exactly.
That's all you're giving us?
I think sometimes
maybe a little more.
I think New York gets excited whenever we bring new pieces. To me, the way that Knicks fans are excited about all of these guys coming in reminds me of Steve Francis being traded from Orlando to the Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, the list goes on and on. Steve Francis, Stephon Marbury, Amari Stoudemire. It goes on and on.
But at least Amari did something until Carmelo got here. I think the
Amari. Oh, we don't even want to go there.
All right, Hansel, thanks for calling.
I love you anyway.
Yeah, we gotta say goodbye because I don't need to hear this right now. Thanks for calling. For real. Thanks, Hansel.
We finish on Twitter.
Later.
All right, thanks. So the number is 929-227-4646 if anyone else wants to jump on the line and holler at me and Scoop B. We're here. So I mean, I like the idea that they are formulating some type of chemistry and, because that's very important. But at the same time, it's like, miss me with all of this. I've been here before. I've seen this story before. I know how this ends, and I just wanted to have a different ending this time.
I think the Knicks to me had the opportunity to do what the OKC Thunder did. They built young. When you look at that team before the Carmelo Anthony trade, you had Danilo Gallinari, you had Wilson Chandler, you had Nate Robinson, you had D'Antoni, coach. I think that was the wrong coach for that team.
Yeah.
But I think you had some of the people.
I think he's the wrong coach for most teams.
Unless they're the Phoenix Suns.
Exactly.
From a decade ago. But
with Steve Nash at point.
Mm-hmm. I think, I had Danilo on our show some months ago, and I asked him, do you ever reflect on that Knicks team, what they could have been had that trade not happened? He said, me and Amari talk all the time, and we discuss what would have happened if.
Well, they got to let that go.
I mean, I think it's a casual conversation.
They gotta let it go.
But yeah.
Because I read somewhere that Amari brought it up recently, and I know how these things go. People ask them these questions, so it's not like they walk in and people stick a mic in their face and then they start venting and reminiscing about what could have been. So to be fair in that sense, but Man, let it go. And I also read that Amari's like he would like to come back to New York. Bruh.
I think the ship has sailed at this point.
Yeah, he should consider following in the footsteps of Duncan and
I don't think you can compare Duncan and Kobe to Amari, but
saying,
more like I think
that's what I'm saying.
His legacy is a less banged up Antonio McDyess.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to play him when I say that, but I feel
I mean, and even when I remember when the Knicks got Antonio McDyess, and it was like his knees, like this is a risky acquisition because of his injury history.
A guy that was a high flyer,
yeah,
and then had to result to I think he ended up playing for a championship team. He played for the Spurs briefly. He became a post guy that was basically like almost like a Brandon Bass, if you will.
Okay.
But I think that Amari has been able to expand his career because I think playing in a system like Dallas allowed him to do that as well as the Miami Heat. But
I did like Amari when he first came to the Knicks. I mean, the pick and roll was beautiful to watch. And then, once Melo came, that just kind of send us in a different direction.
And when Melo was hurt and Jeremy Lin played, welcome back to New York, Jeremy Lin kind of revived Amari's role a little bit while Melo was out. But, at that point, he gave him the keys to the city. Yep.
Yeah, it was Melo's team at that point.
Mm-hmm. So I think, as far as the Knicks, I think Brandon Jennings has something to prove this year. A guy I've watched and covered since he was in high school at Oak Hill Academy, and I like his game. I want to see him.
His game a lot too.
I
think he's going to be exciting because he could be starting on other teams in the league. That's the kind of talent that he has and the potential.
I think he and Scott Skiles were too much alike, and early in his career they were combative.
They just bumped heads.
And then I think he was his coach again in Orlando, and I think they had pieced it up almost kind of like a Devin Harris situation where he played under Avery Johnson in Dallas, and then when he came to the Nets, same type of situation. They just bumped heads because he's a point guard, and Skiles was too. But I think Hornacek and Jennings will be a very interesting dynamic.
I didn't really follow Hornacek when he was coaching the Suns, just for obvious reasons, geographic, whatever. But what I've seen from him so far in the limited exposure that he's had to the media since being named Knicks coaches, I just like his disposition. I like his demeanor. I think he's going to be good for this team. I don't feel like I look at Derek Fisher, and obviously he had a lot of other things going on that distracted him. Yeah, so the experience is one thing. But then even aside from, the Matt Barnes thing, he was going through, a really nasty divorce while he was also here trying to coach in his first season. It was just a lot, and so I just think that his attention was too divided and he couldn't focus. And then obviously the pressure of it being in New York, coaching under Phil Jackson, who also had his own amount of pressure to contend with. So I think it was just a lot for him to manage, and he didn't do well at it. But with Hornacek, he knows he has an identity already. And I feel like
as a coach,
right? And so that confidence that he brings will certainly do him a world of good here in New York.
I think you're right. I will add that I actually followed Hornacek's. I'm a nerd when it comes to basketball, but I followed Hornacek's career back to when he was a Philadelphia 76er, and he played for the Jazz as well. The guy that would communicate with his family at the free throw line. You remember that, by rubbing his face?
Yeah.
That's where Jason Kidd got the blow and kiss tribute from. But an efficient free throw shooter. I remember talking to Sam Cassell one time. Sam Cassell took Hornacek's stroke approach to shooting from he took it from Jeff Hornacek, a guy that he followed. So I've got a chance to know Jeff over the years, and even when he was an assistant with the Utah Jazz back in 2012 when I was covering the Nets. I like his demeanor. I like his approach to the game. And I think one thing that I like about him as head coach of the Knicks is the fact that you need a guy that can be firm in that whole triangle thing, because I think people just go overboard with it in the sense of when you look at the triangle set, people are following. I was horrible at geometry in high school, but I feel like people just go overboard. I believe that he's a guy that can.
There's 3 points, right?
Oh, that I do know.
Okay.
I know that much. But I think that Hornacek is more of a flex offense type of guy.
Right.
And more of a, guy standing on the perimeter and score, but also he's a guy that, you can feed the inside. He coached the Morris twins. And I think that a guy whose team and as a player played against Phil Jackson's Chicago Bulls when he was at Utah Jazz, he knows what to expect from Phil.
Yeah.
And I think he has the gall to stand up to Dolan. I think we pay so much attention to the triangle. These guys ain't running no triangle.
No, they're not.
You're not talking about a championship caliber team like the Lakers were when Phil coached and when the Bulls were when Phil coached them. You're talking about a rebuilding team that has a 31, 32-year-old Carmelo Anthony, who I have a good relationship with, but let's be honest. You're looking to rebuild while you still have a star on your team. So, Hornacek coming in, I hope it's for the long haul.
Well, Phil admitted that, he had a conversation with Melo, and Melo was basically like, yo, I am 31, 32. I do have these injuries, and the window of my opportunity is closing. Let's make something happen now.
Stevie Wonder could see that.
Exactly. And so that was the impetus behind Phil Jackson pulling a 180 and saying, like, okay, we need to construct like a win now team versus just trying this whole rebuilding thing. And I mean, that was huge because Phil seemed very, very just kind of like rigid in his approach and saying, like, I want the triangle and I only want my guys that I have a relationship with as the coach, and this, and this. And he's relaxed his approach and kind of shifted his mindset for the better.
Maybe he got some potassium.
Maybe
had some bananas and relaxed.
Maybe.
But I think
yeah, so I don't know. As a Knicks fan, I will say that I am cautiously optimistic. My dad says that he's cautiously pessimistic about the Knicks this season.
Sway, how?
Yeah, exactly. But I'm cautiously optimistic about the Knicks. I'm excited to see what we're able to do, and just as when I look around the league in general, and just all the different new faces in new places that have occurred, that excites me. It's particularly in the East. I think that's going to make things a lot interesting.
The West is a wild, wild West for real.
Yeah, it is. All right. So let's get into, because I want to get into my power recap. I didn't even tell you guys that I'm doing a power recap. It's back. Last season I did it, and this season is back. Last night was the season premiere, so I want to get into the power recap. But before we do, I want to get into Craig Allen's shoot your shot questions. One is, will Tim Duncan keep a fresh shape up now that he's retired? I think that's hilarious, but I think everyone knows the answer to that.
What's the answer?
No, hell no. If Tim Duncan
I knew I liked you, girl.
If Tim Duncan played 4 nights a week and didn't care about getting the shape up when he was playing in front of millions of people, why is he all of a sudden going to care about keeping a fresh cut when nobody's going to see him?
So I take that question and raise you this. Now that Kevin Durant is a member of the Golden State Warriors, will he keep a fresh line now he's in the Bay?
I mean, not if he's hanging around Steph Curry, because Steph don't keep a fresh line.
I gotta
either.
go. He's executing his light skin privilege.
Okay, all right.
I think in all seriousness, I think Duncan is so crazy to see him get a line like my man had like the fresh Mr. T Mohawk kit all the way around. He's just missing the gangster dough. I was like, yo, when Tim start getting fresh?
But that also makes me think of Kawhi Leonard, who...
Yeah, there you go.
His braids, man. I need him to...
He got them Udonis Haslam Messi braids.
Oh, my God. So Craig Allen is saying, Durant got that roots hair texture.
Stop it. Stop.
See? So for those of you listening, Craig Allen hosts Phoenix Soul, I believe is the name of the show. The Phoenix Soul Show here on FLO Empire Radio at 6 o'clock. So if you want more of his hilarious takes, tune in to the Phoenix Soul Show at 6 p.m. Here on Mondays. And then the other question he tweeted in is, does Portland's Damian Lillard really need to drop a hip-hop album? Can he just stick to playing ball? I mean, hey, Why not? First of all, I think that Lillard has the most skills out of any NBA athlete who also raps. So I'm not mad at that. Like, if it's not taken away from your balling, like, do your thing.
I'm partial because he worked with my guy Jalil Beats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jalil is that dude. But to see Damian Lillard appear on Sway rapping, to see him do a video, or and he's not the only guy on the team that can rap. Mason Plumlee did a little something too last summer. But he's not on the same level as Damian. But
I wouldn't think he would be.
But I think that hi Facebook Live. But I think that Damian is the truth. Why can't he rap? I think we've just been spoiled with guys like Shaq who rap with Biggie.
Or
Kobe, who thought he could rap.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Or Iverson, or Lamar Odom, or who else? No, Shumpert. I think Shumpert is okay. Shumpert's okay.
I ain't see it.
No?
No. So
I thought Shumpert. You've never heard, or are you saying that you've heard it and you didn't see it?
I've seen
never
nothing.
Heard.
Seen or heard nothing.
Okay. No, Shumpert has some skills.
Does he?
Yeah, Shumpert has.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah.
I was laughing when I was at in Toronto the All-Star Weekend. And when Kobe sat down at the end, every team has an in-house DJ.
Right.
So when he sat and waved and said his wave to the crowd, says farewells. The DJ played a 30-second clip of one of Kobe's songs. So all you heard was din 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 din. So I saw a couple.
That's hilarious.
So I'm a bridge between sports and hip hop.
Right.
I looked at a guy that I know that's a hip hop writer. I looked at him. He looked at me. We were the only two that got
noticed.
it.
That's
and I was
dope.
like, that was kind of
cool. So
cool.
how did Kobe react?
He grinned.
Oh, did
he got it. He got it.
I would hope so. If nobody else knows his songs, he should know his songs.
But they were bad.
I know.
They were bad.
Yeah. At least that didn't kill his legacy. See, and if that's the thing, like if Kobe can rap and it didn't hurt his legacy as an athlete, then there's no reason why Damian Lillard shouldn't be able to put out an album, especially when he actually has skills.
But looking back on it, why was it that, remember Iverson took heat for dropping that Jules, or almost dropping that Jules album?
Yeah.
Iverson could flow.
Kenny?
He could. This was back when we were like 2000, 2001. He had an unreleased album.
Because didn't the NBA kill that?
I think Iverson came at, I feel like he had a target on his back because he was the first.
That was when he was like public enemy number one.
Michael Eric Dyson said that Allen Iverson was Tupac with a basketball. And so he was public enemy number one. Yeah. And I think that now what he did is now accepted, almost like he carried the burden of representation.
Yep. He did. So Silas just said the same thing. If Kobe can drop an album, let Lillard live. That's a tongue twister.
Can I live?
Yeah, I agree, Silas. Yes. So Craig, we're gonna. Well, I don't know if. Yeah, because the way you framed it seemed like you were anti Lillard's album, but we're all here and we're not mad at it. We're not mad at Lillard dropping an album. All right, Scoop B, you want to leave the people with anything before you head out of here?
No, I'm happy for you. You doing your thing. I've been watching you from afar.
Thank you.
And I just want to tell you, you're the man. I like Empire Radio, and I like.
I'm the man.
Did I pull it off this time?
I don't know about that.
You gotta let me. Can I live?
I don't know.
But I'm happy to be here. I'm glad that you brought me on, and we got to get you on Around the Scoop as well.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's get it.
You heard it here, people.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, it's a habit.
Shana.
Yes, Shana Renee. Yes, Shana.
So Craig hollered back and he said, "I still rather cop a Nick Cannon double CD over Damian."
You couldn't go with the Sammy?
Ooh.
I like the way.
Oh my gosh, Nick Cannon though. All right, we're gonna say goodbye to Scoop. Give us a second, and where can the people find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at ScoopB. You can follow me on Instagram at Scoop_B, as well as Snapchat Scoop_B. Make sure not only you check out Brown and Scoop, but you also check out Scoop B Radio. I've been in the business for a while, so I have interviews that I've done from a kid that I put on ice.
Oh, okay.
And you can subscribe to it on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, the Listen Now app, and you can check out ScoopBRadio.com. And I've had interviews with everybody from B.J. Armstrong, Karen Civil, Scott Burrell, Jalil Beats, not Meek Mill, Neef Buck, who's part of the Young Guns, Miss Jade. So has some of everybody.
What's your most memorable interview that you've ever done?
Dang, you put me on the spot. The most memorable interview that I ever did, one of them I think was Jalil, just because we had that connection. I lived in Philly for 5 years, so that I think was memorable. Another memorable interview would probably be some of the ones that went viral on Brown and Scoop. We had Dr. Ben Carson on our show a couple weeks ago. And
yes. Tell us how that was, because I did see the clips from that where he mentioned his mom.
Yes. So we had
fill everybody in on that.
We had former Republican, goes back to what my mom said, there's more to life than basketball.
Right.
And so we had former Republican hopeful, presidential hopeful, Dr. Ben Carson, neurosurgeon on, and I read his book as a kid.
Okay.
And so I asked him a question. My mom texted me, ask him this, ask him that. So I'm reading the text message, and I asked Dr. Carson, if your mom was still alive, what would she say about all of, I guess, the success that you've had, blah, blah, blah. He goes, well, my mother's still alive, right? Ooh. So then I kind of clean it up. Then he goes, and if she has I think he said she has Alzheimer's. So she doesn't remember everything that's going on, but if she did, she might take guns out and shoot reporters who had negative things to say about me. I was like, yeah. But it went viral. Like, it hit every publication and blog, and it was crazy. So I mean,
CNN and
Yahoo. Yeah. But The Hill, it hit everything. But I mean, for Brown and Scoop, and kudos to my co-host Jake Brown, we've been running since September 1st, and we've gone viral, I think, about 9 times. Like,
that's huge.
It's booking is key, and like I said, we have Perez Hilton, an interview with Perez Hilton that'll drop tomorrow.
Oh, really?
And
you interviewed. Nice segue into the next segment. Did you interview Tommy from Power?
Yes.
Today?
Joseph Sikora. Yes.
Yeah, you interviewed him today.
Yeah, you can find that on iTunes somewhere. Brown and Scoop.
Did he give you any spoilers or anything?
No, but I know he and my co-host have a bet where my co-host Jake is a Mets fan and Joseph is a Cubs fan. So the winner of whichever team does better in the National League has to buy the other a steak dinner.
Well, I think your co-host is going to be buying him a steak dinner.
I just want to get the free steak dinner too. So kudos to Mr. Sakura for that. Tommy.
Yes, Tommy.
Yes.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us today.
I would have it no other way. Thank you for having me.
I'm so thankful for you coming on my show.
I'm thankful to be here.
Great conversation as always. And yeah, thanks for supporting. I'll keep supporting you.
Of course. I got my little buddy Shaquan here recording, and he's off from school today, so I wanted to say his name on the radio because he's gonna smile now and say hi back, or not.
He's not gonna smile. Okay, he didn't smile for you.
Hey, buddy.
There it is.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you for joining us. All right, we're gonna take a quick break, and then when I get back, we're gonna get into this power recap, you guys. Y'all, you hear it. Money, power, respect. It's time for our power recap. After a long year, it is back. Season 3. Ghost, Tommy, Tasha, the rest of the crew. Truth, the club, he got it back. It was popping last night. So let's get into it. Let me know who's listening. Again, the phone number is 929-227-4646. Anybody that listened or watched Power last night, I want to hear from you. What were your first impressions of the season premiere? These are my key takeaways. I think that Ghost did not make any friends last night. I think he's made some more enemies. Cantos, the manager of his club, it seems like there's going to be some tension between them to fill anybody in. Obviously, if you're listening, then you must have seen the show, because otherwise I'm going to spoil it for you. But Cantos, who's been managing the club, who's been Ghost's right-hand man as it comes to truth business and always looking out, it seems like there may have been a little bit of a betrayal there, or at least that's what Ghost thinks. There was some woman who snuck into Ghost's office. I don't know if it was a camera or what was going on, but Ghost didn't like what he saw when he went back and watched the security tape, called Cantos in front of the entire staff, and basically fired him on the spot. What we saw prior to that, and what Cantos was trying to communicate to Ghost, was that Agent Greg Knox, Angela's former partner, who's now serving a suspension for stalking Angela, came into the club looking for Ghost and asking questions about Ghost. And Cantos didn't tell him anything. He didn't tip him off at all. And he never got a chance to communicate that to Ghost, because Ghost shut it down and fired him. So what are we as the viewers left to believe? We're led to believe that that Cantos and Greg Knox will eventually link up and partner to try to take Ghost down. So that's one storyline that we need to look out for going into the season. As far as Angela and Ghost relationships goes, it's interesting because we saw them walk into the club as a couple. They're not hiding anymore. They're basically living together, sharing a morning routine. And I just can't believe this relationship, though. I think that, as we saw towards the end of last season, Angela now knows that Jamie is Ghost. Ghost knows that Angela works for the feds and works specifically on his case in trying to lock up Lobos and anyone affiliated with Lobos. And considering that Angela is, very much attached to her job, I don't think that there's ever going to be an instance in when she can separate the two, specifically considering how close she still is to the case. And so I think that in their relationship, there's always going to be this distrust between the two of them, and just kind of like understanding what their motives are as far as any moves that they make. And that is going to continue to be an issue within the show. And and it just like, even when they're intimate, it doesn't even seem like it has the same passion as it once did before. It seems like they're just kind of like going through the motions, especially on Angela's side. I don't know. It's tough with this couple, because I never know if they're really in love with each other and just caught up in a very complicated situation, or if they're using each other to one-up the other person. And I think that that's kind of like the beauty of the show and the dynamics of their relationship. You know what I'm saying? So, I can't believe I just said, do you know what I'm saying? That is ridiculous that I just did that. So Tommy is now the man. I only have 4 minutes and then I got to wrap this up. So Tommy is now the man. Now that Ghost is out the game, has told Andre, who used to work for Kanan, and told Tasha, his wife, to now call him James and not, no, he didn't tell that to Tasha. He told that to, who did he tell that to? He told that to Andre, and he told that to, maybe it was Tasha. I don't think it was Tasha. I don't remember, but he said it to 2 characters. He said it twice last night. And that Tommy is now the head man in charge of the drug game, and he's wilding in the streets like we thought he would, just completely in control and losing power and hemming up people and throwing them off roofs of buildings and lifting up his mask and showing his identity and all of that. And I think that this is going to be tricky because Tommy's kind of a loose cannon, and you just never know what kind of judgment calls he's going to make. And he's always going to put himself in a situation where it's probably not the best decision. So that's something that we're definitely going to have to keep our eye out on, especially as we know that now at the end of this show, once Ghost found out that Lobos is alive, that he's now getting back in the game. And obviously the show is about, him as a drug dealer. So we knew that wouldn't last but for so long. And Angela is the one who told Ghost that Lobos is alive. So I think that what's really going to be interesting is that now that we know that Sandoval, who is Angela's boss, is working on the inside with Lobos, and he knows that Angela has a relationship with Ghost, and he's feeding her information and told her that, Lobos is actually alive and well. He knew that she would then go back to tell Ghost. So they're setting her up in some way to either indict her in some way or have her get caught out there with Ghost. But this is something that we're definitely going to have to follow, because as he gets deeper and he's being, his strings are being pulled by Lobos, and he continues to loop Angela into what's going on, and she then goes and runs and tells Ghost, we just know that this is going to lead to something disastrous for everyone involved. I'm trying to think, what other key moments do I need to share before I get out of here? I only have 1 more minute. I don't really know what Tasha's role is this season. And that's something that I'm waiting to see. Because now that Sean is dead and he's no longer Ghost driver and they don't have their relationship, we need to kind of figure out where she fits into all of this. Kanan, everyone still believes that Kanan is dead. We know that Kanan isn't dead, so it'll just be a matter of how long or when and where he reappears throughout the season. But in all intents and purposes, I'm here for season 3. I'm glad that it's back. Next week, we'll have a longer recap. I kind of botched the time management this week, but it was all good because Scoop was a great guest. And yeah, I'm about to get up out of here. I know that didn't leave much time for you guys to weigh in with your thoughts and opinions, but next week it'll be better. I promise you that. This is Shana Renee for All Sports Everything Radio. Thank you guys so much for listening again. If you miss any part of the show and you want to go back and listen to it, it'll be up on my blog. You can find it here on FLO Empire Radio and also Spreaker and iTunes. Definitely by tomorrow, if not later today. You can also find me on social media at It's Shana Renee, ICSSHANARENEE. That's Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. And that's it, you guys. I'm out. I'll see you next week. Bye.